Coming up on Network Africa, Ghanaian authorities say burial rites have been performed at the mining pit where 22 illegal miners were trapped. "26 Egyptian soldiers have been killed or wounded in car bomb attacks on several checkpoints in the northern Sinai region. And the WFP launches cash-based transfer in Cameroon to target beneficiaries, including refugees from the Central African Republic. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers. We begin today in Ghana, where burial rites have been performed at the mining pit where 22 illegal miners were trapped after rescue workers gave up hope of finding their bodies. Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister Benito Owosu says a Catholic mass was held for the dead. Islamic and traditional prayers were also offered. Only one body was retrieved after the pit in the western region caved in on Sunday, trapping the miners more than 26 meters underground. Rescue efforts were suspended yesterday due to heavy rain. Illegal mining, allegedly led by Chinese nationals, has been a source of concern to the Ghanaian authorities, both because of safety issues and its destructive impact on the environment. Several arrests have been made and equipment seized. The government has now set up a task force to investigate the problem as the number of accidents increase. In North Africa, the Egyptian army says 26 soldiers have been killed or wounded in car bomb attacks on several checkpoints in the northern Sinai region. Security sources say a colonel was among 10 soldiers killed. The military also claims that it killed 40 assailants as it fought back. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack, but the militant Islamic State group has carried out many attacks in the region against the security services and other targets in the past 2 years. Leading rights group Amnesty International has warned of a climate of fear in Rwanda ahead of presidential elections on August the 4th. In a report, the group says, quote, "Since the ruling Rwandan Patriotic Front took power 23 years ago, Rwandans have faced huge and often deadly obstacles to participating in public life and voicing criticism of government policy," end of quote. President Paul Kagame is expected to win the election against a weak opposition after the constitution was controversially amended to allow him to run for a third term. The government has not commented on the report, but it has previously dismissed allegations of repression in Rwanda. The South African government says it will study an ICC ruling that says that the country violated its obligations to the court by failing to arrest the president of Sudan in 2015 and will decide whether to appeal. The country's ambassador to the Netherlands, Bruce Colani, made the comments outside the court in The Hague. Sudanese President Omar Hassan al-Bashir, who came to power in 1989, Islamist and military-backed coup, was charged with genocide and crimes against humanity in 2008 over the deaths and persecution of ethnic groups in the Darfur province between 2003 and 2008. He denies the charges and continues to travel abroad.
As you know, the ruling was made. South Africa is still a member effectively of the ICC. We still have to honor all our obligations in terms of expectation, responsibilities. We do that, and we've committed to abide by the ruling of our own domestic courts on that particular matter. In as far as the ruling of today is concerned, we have a responsibility to get our legal experts to study and analyze everything that's part of the ruling. And then on the basis of that, they will advise our political principals, who will then make a decision about how they want to proceed, whether they want to appeal or not appeal, etc.
And I know always the people who commit crimes is like the ex-president of Yugoslavia has been here after a long time. It takes time, but finally we'll be here one day.
In Central Africa, a court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has convicted 7 soldiers for murdering suspected militia members in central Congo's insurrection-ravaged Kasai region. A video of the massacre showing soldiers shooting people, some of them young women, at point-blank range, provoked international condemnation of Congolese forces' alleged use of excessive force when it appeared on social media in February. The court sentenced 2 army majors to 20 years in prison and 3 other soldiers to 15-year sentences for murder and improperly disposing of weapons. 2 other soldiers who had fled were sentenced in absentia to capital punishment, although Congo has observed a moratorium on the death penalty for over a decade. 1 soldier received a 12-month suspended sentence for failing to denounce the crimes, while another was acquitted for lack of evidence against him. Here in Nigeria, the United Nations resident coordinator for Nigeria, Mr. Edward Cullen, says it's important to set up a peace-building trust fund for victims of herdsmen attacks in Benue State to help facilitate their reintegration into the society. Mr. Cullen made this appeal to Governor Samuel Ortom during the United Nations advocacy visit to Benue State on internal displacement crisis management in Agatu and 11 other local councils affected by the attacks. A delegation from the United Nations, led by the resident coordinator in Nigeria, Mr. Edward Cullen, is visiting Agatu local government area of Benue State. The visitors are here to assess the impact of herdsmen attacks in the area. Signs of the atrocities carried out by the armed herdsmen are visible, with many homes destroyed. The delegation drive into the Ayla IDP camp in Agatu with thousands of women and children trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. A nursing mother and others appeal to the government for better conditions.
Before we achieve the way better now, since we have born everything, born my house, born farm. We don't get anything. We
want government to come to our aid to assist us in food stuff and all these building materials so that we can review some things that are spoiled like this.
The UN delegation leave Agatu and head to the government house where they are received by Governor Samuel Ortom. Here, another appeal is made on the need to establish a peace-building trust fund to deal with the IDP reintegration.
We are ready to work with you to mobilize international support towards a development partners trust fund to assist you to sustain peace, security and development in this productive stretch of land that you are governing. And I think it's very critical to put in place an institutional architecture for conflict prevention.
Governor Ortom then reveals staggering statistics of the violent attacks by herdsmen between 2013 and 2016.
A 2014 report conducted by Benue State Bureau for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs found out that the destruction which invading Fulani herdsmen caused across 10 local governments of Benue State exceeded 95 billion naira in that year alone.
While the United Nations pledged to mobilize international support for the victims, they also asked for aid from the federal government and corporate bodies to help out the displaced people.